GMAT, everybody. Welcome to LP Academy Live. I hope you enjoyed this song. We'll play it again at the end of the stream. I see Hector's here. He enjoyed it. So anyway, welcome. Let's get started on this now. So first, our disclaimer. This course is only for educational purposes. Completing it's not going to give you an airdrop or a met allocation or any NFT or anything like that. The instructors in this course are not financial professionals. So any funds that you risk, you do so at your own risk. And it should be only money that you can afford to lose. And as always, with most things you hear in crypto, do your own research and that sort of thing. Okay, so the prerequisites, you do need a Solana compatible wallet funded with some SOL. We recommend one SOL, but you can do less. You should know how to swap, buy and sell tokens on Jupiter. And you need to have a high level of understanding of what cryptocurrency is. We do have a basics course available on lparmy.com if you're a little lost on some of those topics. But an introduction. I am Heavy Metal Cook. I am one of the LP Army leads. I've been here LPing on Meteora since January of 2024. I was a liquidity provider on Ethereum and Avalanche chains before coming over here. Mined ETH way back in the day. But I am the lead for the educational system. And, of course, I love to lift weights and cook. Moving on. We have Photon Magic in the studio with us today. Photon, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoyed today's session.
Tell us about yourself, please, sir.
Well, I'm a pretty simple guy. I've been doing this for 4 years, off and on. I run the Q&A sessions with my good friend Hashirama. I'm a mod, as many of you know. I do some coaching, and of course, I'm a cool guy. I love coffee.
Right on. Thank you. And Hashirama, he's actually doing some travel right now, so he is not joined us yet. But he's one of our other great instructors. He's been around for a long time. Very smart guy. Okay, so during this course, please use the chat to ask any questions that you have. We are here to help you out and answer your questions. You do need to complete both the test and the graduation task of this course, which we will explain all that near the end of the course, how that works. But you have to do both parts to graduate. And we welcome your feedback in our Discord or on the LP Army website, lparmy.com. That is how we improve this course, is directly through your feedback. Okay. The roles for completing this course: if you pass the theory test, you will receive the Academy trainee role that is issued in the LP Army Discord. If you pass the theory test and the graduation task, you will earn the LP Army private role, and again in the Discords. However, if you fail the theory test, you have to try again. It doesn't matter if you've got a passing grade on the graduation task. If you don't pass the theory test, you do need to start that over. Fortunately, it's easy to do that as often as you need in order to graduate. Okay. Excuse me. Some key terms. You should know what a lot of these things are. We're going to touch on some of these key terms because they are most important to liquidity providing. And again, we go more deep into what all of these terms mean in our LP Basics course. So if you're a little lost, go back and do that course on the lparmy.com website. And also, we have an extensive glossary on the LP Army website where you can get a whole lot more information about any term that maybe you're a little confused on or you're unsure what it is. That is available for you. The contract address, or CA, you should know that. Unique identifier for every token. You should understand swaps, slippage. This comes into play quite a bit. And TVL, the total value of the assets within a pool, protocol, or the blockchain. So it can mean different things. It just depends on the situation. Volume, and I will say this now, and I'll say it again later. Volume is king. Volume is that amount of trading over a given time period. It is what we need to be successful and profitable. Volatility it's that measure, and it gets confused with volume, but volatility is how much that price of a token is moving up or down and given over a certain amount of time. And it's greatly impacted by things such as the market cap and price impact. The market cap, that's the total value of all tokens out there anywhere in circulation. And that price impact is how much impact a individual swap will have on the price. So all these things feed back into affecting volatility. And just pause for a second. That is not what this course is about. What is an AMM and LP? AMM, automatic market maker, is the very simplest, the basic, the first kind of liquidity pool that you would find in decentralized finance. It's the most simplest thing out there. It's one token comes in, another goes out, infinite price range. It's very simple, basic. If you ever used Ethereum, Uniswap V2 is a standard AMM. And LP gets used in many different ways here. Liquidity provider, you, the pool, and so on. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the DAM V1, or the Dynamic Automated Market Maker V1, and our dynamic vaults. This is a legacy protocol that's less used, but we are covering it so that you fully understand the differences between the two and how it's evolved, so you understand what it's like. Okay, so I am going to change screens here just for a second. Okay. So to get to the DAM V1, we're going to come up here to the More menu and come down to Legacy. You will see this is where you can access any pools that you have there, but we're going to start with the Dynamic Vaults. The Dynamic Vaults is simply a lending protocol. It's got these 6 tokens in here that you can earn yield. Some of these are not so fantastic. And this is not really a place that you want necessarily to deposit. You could probably earn more lending yield somewhere else. It is using Jupe Lend for some of this. It is fairly safe place to deposit your money if you wanted to and earn a little bit of yield. It's very simple. You deposit and withdraw. And why am I showing you this? Well, it's all going to make sense here in just a moment. But those are the dynamic vaults. Very simple, easy to use. But we're going to come here now to click on pools, and we're going to go to legacy and go to the DAM V1. Now here we have a lot of tokens pairs, and this is again very much like a traditional AMM with a few small differences. You will see here a list of pools, and anything that has the Meteora logo on it was actually created by the Meteora team itself. So we're going to actually go into this one right here, but we will see here you have a lot of different labels here for the type, whether it's volatile, dynamic, where it's meme or stable, or LST, that means liquid staking token. GeoSol is a liquid staking token. We see how much volume has come through this pool in the last 24 hours and the estimated yield. So anyway, we're going to go into this pool here. We'll see the total value locked. So this is the TVL of this specific pool at this time. Zoom in just a little bit. We'll see here the estimated yield on this. We have our two tokens, and you'll notice that it is not 50-50 distribution here. There's about 40% SOL and about 59% GeoSol in this pool. And so it just, the market dictates that ratio there. We have our current pool price, and then we have something called the virtual price. Now, the virtual price is actually a very complicated topic to explain. If you want to know more about it, you can find it in the Meteora documentation. That's at docs.meteora.ag. What you do need to know is that if the virtual price is above 1, that's good. If it is below 1, it is not good. 24-hour volume. So this is how much in swaps has come through this pool and touched this liquidity in the last 24 hours. Okay, so there's that much in trades that's come through here. We have the 24-hour fee. This is how much in fees has been generated by this pool in that last 24 hours. And we have the 24-hour yield. Now, what is the yield? Well, the DAM V1 utilizes those dynamic vaults that I just showed you to also earn yield. It's using these tokens. So if any of the tokens in this pool are also found in that vault, and in this case SOL is, then it's also earning money off of that lending yield. We have the liquidity provider fee. This is how much you are earning on every swap that comes through your pool. We have the protocol fee. And for any pool that was created by Meteora, there is no protocol fee on the pool. The AMP, like virtual price, it's a complicated topic to explain. We're not going to deep dive into that. It's in the Meteora documentation. You can access pool charts here. This will take you directly to a chart for this pool. But let's do a deposit. Now you can see here that it wants to do a balance deposit. You need to have both tokens in this pool in order for it to work. You cannot put in only SOL. Now, I would need to have some GeoSol in my wallet. I can do a swap and buy some GeoSol. But what I'm actually going to do is something that they don't recommend, and that's to make an unbalanced deposit. So what's going to happen when I do that? Well, I'm going to put in just a small amount of SOL into this. And let's see what happens whenever I try and do this. So it actually made a swap for me. It converted some of that SOL into Jito SOL. We could see that I've got $25 in here. And how do I know that I was swapped? Well, I come here to the withdrawal and I click on this here because I want to withdraw the entire balance. And we can see here that now I can withdraw 0.1 SOL and 0.15 Jito SOL. So it automatically swapped into the ratio that was here. Now, other important things to know about the DAMV1. Any of the fees and yield that you earn are automatically compounded back into this pool. You cannot claim those fees separately. And whenever you make this deposit, you are given an LP token, and it'll show up in your wallet. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a bit. Something else that's very important. For this, you will need to know how much you deposited originally in order to know whether or not you're in profit and loss. Okay, so take note of whatever your initial deposit value is, and then whenever you're ready to withdraw later, you compare that to what it is now, and that's how much profit and loss that you have. If you want to monitor that, we come up here to the menu, Legacy, My Pools, and that shows it there, right? Very simple. This is a separate type of portfolio page that shows the DAMV1. Okay, so now I'm going to withdraw from this. Get all my monies back. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go and show you guys just a little bit more on the DAMV1. You can have it suggest tokens based on tokens that you currently hold in your wallet. And you can also say, show me verified tokens only, and that's referring to Jupiter verified. And whenever you do that for the DAMV1, you'll notice that you see almost pretty much exclusively Meteora created pools. There is a slight difference on some of these that was not created by Meteora. We can see here that on this specific one, there is a dynamic fee. This dynamic fee is based off of the volatility of this token. So it changes, and so it adds that in addition to the base fee. Okay. And since this was not created by Meteora, there is a protocol fee. And on the DAMV1, the protocol fee is 20% of the dynamic fee. Last couple features before we move on. You will see a swap function directly in the pool. That's in every pool. If you wanted to trade some of this token for the other, you could. It's not really recommended that you do this because you'll probably get a better price on Jupiter itself, but you can. Finally, there is the burn option. This is really just for token creators who maybe they've created a token and then want to lock up that liquidity. They can do that here. Again, this is not recommended if you're just a regular user, because if you lock your liquidity in this pool, you can never withdraw it. You can only claim fees based off of that. We do have a slippage setting here. If you want to change your swap slippage for this, you have that option. Okay. So that is the DAMV1. And we will go back to our presentation. The other things is that the DAMV1 does not earn MET points. Make note of that. Okay, so now we have our next product, the DAM V2. So it's the next generation of this. It's got so many extra features. You can have concentrated liquidity. You can get fees in just the quote token or the quote and base token. And what I'm referring to is the quote token that could be like just SOL or USDC, or you can get it in both tokens. There's various fee modes, and we're actually going to go into this. It does earn MET points for whatever fees you earn points off of that. So let's actually demo this now. Okay, we come back to pools, and we'll see right here the DAM V2. So we'll go directly into that. Now, you'll notice that unlike the DAM V1, there can be multiple pools for the same token pair. Again, we see our TVL, the 24-hour volume, and estimated. And this one, it seems like there's nothing happening on that. There's these various other things. And which one do you choose? Well, there's so many differences. Some of these are empty. Let's just look at this particular one. We can see here from the drop down, we've got different base fees listed. And this one actually is showing a price range, and that is because this pair, this pool, is concentrated liquidity. So let's go ahead and check that out now. So like the DAM V1, we see our total value locked, our liquidity distribution, and in this particular one, it's all of this one token here. And that is because this is concentrated liquidity, and the current price is below what the defined price range is for this pool, 0.2, and it's just below that. It can't move below that. You can see here the actual current price is 0.07. So this pool is kind of stuck, and it's no longer moving. All of this token is trying to swap for the other. So again, volume fee, base fee. This one has a dynamic fee. Not all DAM V2 pools have a dynamic fee. But the total trading fee is whatever the base fee is plus the dynamic fee. The protocol fee is like the DAM V1, 20% of the total trading fee. Here it's listing fee collection token. So this specific one, we're getting both tokens, whatever fees we earn, and that would be reflected up here in your position and fees from the position. Okay, we also have in this specific one a fee mode, a time scheduler. And what happens is whenever this pool is first launched, you can define it so that it is set to a higher base fee, and over time it starts moving down. This specific one was set to 10% at launch, and it stair-stepped down over time, and it looks like only 3 minutes. It stepped down to whatever the base fee currently is. Okay. Let's go and look at a different example here of this one. Let's go into the 6% base fee. It looks like there's no liquidity in this one, but we'll notice here that we have our base fee, the dynamic fee, and the total trading fee that's up a little bit because there is some volatility there, and that this fee collection is only in this quote token. So we're only going to be getting this one no matter what. Okay. And there's no fee scheduler on this one. Let's go look at Sol USDC. Here's I think probably a better example. We'll see the defined price range between $70 and $440. And I wish that Sol would hit $440. But regardless here, this specific one, no dynamic fee and no fee scheduler. If I wanted to deposit in this pool, I would need to have both tokens. You'll notice that there's no way for you to do an imbalanced deposit here. Okay. So if I go here and you see I have no USDC, I will not be able to make a deposit. Insufficient balance. I don't have any. So let's do a little trade here. And I'm using this handy built-in Jupiter swap feature right here in the lower left corner. I'm just going to sell a little bit of SOL for USDC. Okay. Now that I have that, and if you need to, you have this button here that you can refresh the balances. We also see, again, your swap slippage. But I want to put in all of my USDC. It's going to automatically calculate how much SOL I need by clicking this. You do have an option here to change if you want to put in only a percentage. So let's say I wanted to put in 69% of my USDC and hit the save button and click that. And it's going to change everything accordingly. I'll make my deposit. Approve that in my wallet. And so now you see I have a position value and it's $40. And any fees, unlike the DAMV one, the fees are not compounded automatically back into the pool. You claim them separately as you earn them. And there we go. We've already earned a little bit in fees. So if I wanted to, I could claim those. You'll notice that there is no yield listed on this, and that is because the DAMV2 does not use the dynamic vaults. That's an important thing that you need to remember. And that the DAMV2 issues not an LP token to your wallet, but an NFT. That NFT is transferable between wallets. Showing right there in the upper right hand corner, that's what it does look like. I'll show that again elsewhere, but that is what that NFT is. You can move it from one wallet to another. You could have multiple and send it all in one place, and you could actually merge all of those together if you want. That's how you have multiple positions here. Okay, again, swap, I recommend that you use Jupiter. You can lock liquidity. Again, there's a non-permanent option. We're not going to get into that. But the permanent lock, you're putting that money in that pool forever. There's not really a reason for most people to do this. If you're a token deployer and you've got your own pool, then yeah, you might want to do that. Let's see here. Let's pick a different one. Let's see what's going on with this base fee. Quote token only. This one I think is actually wash traded. We will talk about that later in the course, wash traded tokens. Here under this one, we'll show you this fee mode. Here's a different one of the other different options that you'll see in the fee modes. This one is an exponential curve. So it started out at 50%. Why 50% fees? Because a lot of times at launch, and this is especially with like meme coins, snipers hit that at launch, right away. And you can collect serious fees off of those snipes. So it's like making the snipers pay for sniping. So you can make mad money really fast off of that. And over time, that drops down to a rate that's more reasonable for retail users. And this one, it takes a lot longer than the previous one. You see, this was only 2 hours, or it was 2 hours. That other one was 3 minutes that I previously showed you. But this one, it takes 2 hours for it to drop down to that. But it comes down at a more exponential rate. See. This one here, this is a linear time scheduler, and it's actually over a much longer period of time. This one, it took 24 hours for it to come all the way down. But again, that amount in drop on the fees is linear. Okay. So that is what that is all about. There's a lot of different options with the damn V2. So that's what makes it so flexible and cool that you can do. We will talk later in this course about how to select tokens for the damn V2. But again, it's important to know the differences between each of these damn V1 and damn V2. Okay. So key differences between DAM V1 and DAM V2. I'm not going to read everything on the page here, but you can see a lot of what I talked about, that you can get yield on the DAM V1, but not the DAM V2. They can have dynamic fees, both of them. DAM V1 does not earn MET points. The DAM V2 does. The protocol fees is basically the same. The DAM V2 can also be programmed for one-sided liquidity, but you have to do that through a software development kit. It's not something that you can just configure on your own. This is what these LP tokens looks like. This is the LP token for the DAM V1. If you burn that, you effectively lock your liquidity in that pool forever and you can never withdraw. This is the NFT for the DAM V2. Same thing. Don't burn it, because you are then locking your liquidity into that pool forever and you can never withdraw it, so that you get stuck there. That is the DAM V1 and DAM V2. And again, later in this course, we'll talk about selecting tokens and some strategies there. Now we're going to discuss what is a CLMM, a concentrated liquidity market maker. So to solve the problem of infinite liquidity, the CLMM was created. This was originated on the Ethereum chain with Uniswap v3. So if you've ever used that, you should be familiar with that. There's other protocols on Solana that utilize a CLMM, such as Radium and Orca. And this is what it looks like, a visual here. This traditional AMM, you're always in range. You're always earning fees no matter what. See, your liquidity is spread out here from 0 to infinity. But let's say all the price action is happening right here. Okay. So your liquidity out here and out here are completely unused, right? So this is not very capital efficient. Okay. You've got a lot of your funds just sitting there doing nothing. The pro to this is that you're always in range. No matter what the price does, you're earning fees on your liquidity. A CLMM, it tries to solve this problem of capital efficiency by allowing you to concentrate your liquidity in a specific price range. And you can see here, most of it is focused right here where the trading is happening. You can put a little bit outside of that in case of a price swings, but this maximizes fee generation. The downside is, again, it could go out of range, and once you go out of range, you stop earning any fees. Meteora takes the concept of a CLMM a few steps further with the DLMM, the flagship product, the dynamic liquidity market maker. It's very similar to that, but it's got a lot more features. You can change your liquidity shape to match your strategies. You could do one-sided liquidity. Of course, we have dynamic fees. We'll talk about what that is later. Zero slippage price bends. So any swaps that happen within a single price bend, there's zero slippage, which makes that trade more attractive to the user. Jupiter may say, okay, there's no slippage on this specific swap, so we're going to route the trade through this pool. And you can stack strategies. These are the three types. We have spot. It's an even distribution across the entire range. It's just like a CLMM. It's equal across all the way. And it's okay to use in pretty much any situation out there. If you are unsure what strategy type to use, go with spot. And see, it's even all the way across. We have USDC and Sol in this pool, even all the way. The curve strategy is what allows you to really focus your liquidity at a specific price point. This is really only used for stable pairs. That could be like USDC, USDT, or Sol and a liquid staking token. Excuse me. So we can see here, most of our liquidity is right here at this current price. If you think that's where the price action is going to stay, this can really maximize fee generation. You've got some here on the outside in case of a price swing, but because you don't have very much liquidity here on the edges, you will not earn quite as much in fees. Next is the bid ask. This is a classic, and it takes the concept of the curve and does it backwards. So here, as the price of the token goes down, you're going to buy more of the token at lower prices. And of course, as the price goes up, you'll sell more of it at higher prices. If you're familiar with trading, obviously buy low, sell high is the name of the game. That's what bid ask helps facilitate. Bid ask is excellent for capital preservation. Make note of that. DCA, or dollar cost averaging, is a great way to go in or out of a token. It's a very popular strategy. Of the three, spot and bid ask are the most commonly used. But here's where it gets even better, and this is part of the power of the DLMM. These things are flexible. You can do that single-sided liquidity. This one is very commonly used, the single-sided bid ask. Okay, so we put in just Sol, and I want to buy, or we actually put in, this is just USDC. So I want to buy more at lower prices. And then the single-sided spot, again, lower prices. As the price goes down, it's even all the way across. Now, the disadvantages to the curve and the bid ask is we can see here, as the price swings to the outside, you're not earning much in fees. So we can add spot to this so that whenever the price does swing, we're still earning a little bit more in fees. So we just add a layer of spot and then put a curve on top of it. So it's two deposits. We'll show you how to do this. Same with the bid ask. Again, the pure bid ask, you're not earning very much at all in fees when it's down in the lowest part. So by adding that layer of spot, you're still getting some fee generation, but you're still preserving a lot more of your liquidity for the price swings. Now we need to talk about bins and bin steps. And this is the part that trips a lot of people up initially. So we're going to feel free to ask any questions you have about this in the chat. So a bin, in its simplest terms, it's just a container that holds liquidity. That's it. And they can have at any time one token, no token, or both of the tokens. What's important to know is that only the active bin, so that is the current price, can hold both tokens. All the other bins can only have one of the other tokens, right? So that's what this looks like right here. You don't own bins. bins don't move. Once they're created, they stay at that fixed price. The price moves from bin to bin either way. They can't be destroyed once they're created. And again, you don't own it. You are sharing the bin with everybody else who's deposited into that pool. We will see this in detail later, but here is our liquidity on top, and below we have your liquidity plus everyone else's that's in the pool. So we see we have a pure spot, but you've got some differences here. That's everybody else's combined all together. Now, we got to talk about the bin step. The bin step is the difference in price between any two bins, okay? It's another way of saying it is defining how wide that bin is or how much price range that it's actually covering. You don't need to memorize this math, but this helps drive home the concept of this. We have a 10 bin step pool, okay? And bin steps are basis points, basically. 10 bin step is 10 basis points. That's 0.001. 1 bin step is 1 basis point, and so on. 100 bin step, 100 basis points, 0.01. So due to the math, we have this bin here. That price is 85.97. To calculate the price of the next bin, it's the price times the number 1 plus the basis points. So 85.97 times 1.001, we get 86.05. To calculate, to go lower, you use division. And again, you don't have to memorize all this. It's just helping you understand the difference in bin steps. Here's another visual that may help a little bit. These are all of the bin steps that you can choose for different pools. The ones with an asterisk are the most commonly used that you'll see. The others are maybe not used quite so often. But why? Why have different size bin steps? Well, there's reason for all of it. A larger bin step can cover more price range with fewer bins, and the smaller, it captures more moves, more smaller price ranges, it captures more of that. We see here a 20 bin step, a 100 bin step, and a 200 bin step. And you see all these different prices for all of these different bins. This 200 bin step covers at 85.82. It's covering everything from this price to this price. So until the price moves up to 87.53, this is not going to move over, okay? Same with the 100 bin step. It cuts that in half and provides a little bit better. But again, you're going wider with more bins. The maximum number of bins that you can have on a position is 1,400. The default is 6,970 for an individual position. That is the default number of bins. So if you have 70 bins, a 200 bin step is going to cover more range than 70 bins of 20 bin step. Okay. So now we talk about fees. That's what we're here for, fees. There's many different types. We'll show this more during our tour, but every pool has got that base fee that's fixed. It doesn't change, and it can range anywhere from 0.01% all the way up to 10%. Typically, the higher that bin, typically the higher the base fee is, the higher that bin step is. There's few exceptions to that, but generally speaking, you will not find a 200 bin step for 0.01 base fee. And this is the guaranteed amount that you're going to earn on any swaps that hit your liquidity. Dynamic fees, again, one of the great things about Meteora is dynamic fees. It's surge pricing. It's based on volatility. The more volatile the bounce over time that a token does, the higher that dynamic fee, and it changes in real time. And it's in addition to your base fee. Now, the max fee is 10%. That's on every pool. There are no DLMM pools that go above 10%. And so we get our base fee plus dynamic fee. That's the total trading fee that cannot exceed 10%. The Meteora protocol fee, that's how much Meteora is taking to fund operations, is 5% of the total trading fee. That's much less than the DAM products, which is 20. This is only 5%. So it's whatever the base fee is plus the dynamic fee, total trading fee, 5% of that. We will talk more about this later in the course, but choosing a bin step. We've talked about there's so many different bin steps to choose from. How do you pick? Smaller bin steps are typically used for your stable token pairs and very large market cap, like Sol USDC, for example. That's huge market cap, lots of TVL. You need to use these smaller bin steps because it's going to capture more moves at smaller price changes. Longer running tokens with less volume. You don't really see memes with very small bin steps. But a large bin step on very high market cap doesn't really work very well because you're not going to capture very much volume. Your larger bin steps are better for very volatile token pairs, smaller market caps. So things that are fresh, you really want that larger bid step because it can be more volatile, larger price swings. You need a larger bid step really to cover it the best. Okay. And over time, as a token gets older and more stable, maybe a larger market cap, moving to a smaller bin step may help you continue to capture the fees. Okay, it is time now for the tour of the DLMM. Instead of just looking at slides, we're going to talk about all of these things here. So let me change screens for you guys. And Photon, I don't see any questions today. They're either asleep
or maybe everything is very clear.
Okay. So here we are, DLMM. We can search by contract address or token name. It's whichever. Like, for example, if I type in just a name, I'll find something that comes up with it. This is not really the recommended way to search because tokens can have more than one token can have the same name, but contract address is unique. But regardless, it's a way to search. You have a filter here that you can say, I want to see verified tokens only, or like it can't be frozen. I want to only see new listings. There's a lot of different things you can choose. Market cap. There are farms. We might talk about that later. And of course, you can filter by launch pads here. We can see by different amounts of volume, like here, 30-minute volume. We'll see how much volume has come through this in this specific amount of time. But let's just go into here. We can see Sol USDC. 106 pools, which that's a lot. It's going to put the recommended pools on top. So we see this one, 4-bin step, 0.04%. It's got 4 million in TVL here, and in the last 30 minutes, almost 100,000 in volume has come through this pool. And we see the 24-hour fee over TVL. You can, of course, change that to a different time. But the thing that you need to remember about this amount here is that it can be greatly impacted by deposits and withdrawals to the pool. If you have a large amount of liquidity go into a pool, it's going to drive that number down. And if you withdraw from that pool a lot of liquidity, so whales are exiting, then it's going to drive that number up. So don't go based just off of this number. I'm going to go into the 1 bin step and 0.01 fee because I like the fact that there's a lot more volume than TVL in this pool. This one I think is performing a little bit better than this one. Okay, there's a lot here, so bear with me. At the very top, we'll see here if we hover over the token pair, we can come right here and copy the contract address. So if you wanted to do a search for the contract address, you could. We also see this score. This is the organic score, and that information does come from Jupiter. Meteora is not scoring them themselves. We see the current pool price and how much liquidity is in this pool right now. We see that it's at 618,000. Okay, coming down, our pair again. If we click here, we have more options. We can go and look at the contract on SolScan, rug check, and bubble maps. That's for every pair on every pool. We will discuss this more later in the course, what these are for and how to use them. We'll see how much liquidity is in for both of these tokens. This is the liquidity distribution for the entire pool, and you can zoom in and out on this. But this is everybody else's liquidity. Hovering over these individual bins, it tells you how much is in there. But you can just see where the liquidity is in this pool at this time. 24-hour fees, this is how much it's earned in the last 24 hours. And it's actually giving you a percentage here. There's been a drop in fees. The amount of fees being earned in the last 24 hours has fallen by 53%. And that's just normal volatility and price action trading. Bin step base fee, dynamic fee, total trading fee. We talked about this previously. All of these right here, and if you hover, it'll give an explanation. We have here the volume. It's telling you how much volume over this week, how much volume has happened through this specific pool. The TVL distribution, so how much SOL versus how much USDC is in here. A lot of different token info. We'll talk about this more later, but it's giving you a lot of information here, whether it's freezable, mintable, how much the top 10 holders have, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of metrics here. There's links to different pool charts, whatever your preference is. We've got a lot of choices here. Okay, so now there is a built-in price chart, which you can hide. And all of these things are adjusted or adjustable. Like if you don't want to see that panel, you can totally hide it. If you don't want to see the price chart, you can hide it, or you can load it. It works like any other chart does. If you're familiar with charting, you have indicators that you could choose. You can change your type of candles to whatever you like. And of course, all different kinds of charting tools here. On the right, we will see this is where we can create a position. We'll talk about this more in the course later, but we can actually see our bin lines here. So if I wanted to create a position, I can choose this here. It should show me, may need to zoom in. There we go. So we can see here, this indicator, whenever I change that, it's actually going to change the minimum and maximum price right here. So this is a great way for you to visualize setting your range. And again, we'll cover this more later in the course. Let's reset that. Here we go, reset. So let's create a position. That's what we're all here for, right? If you use the autofill, it's going to automatically balance this, not based off of how much is in the pool, but an even balance between the two, depending on the strategy that you're using. If you uncheck autofill, that will allow you to do one-sided liquidity. So there, if I want to do only SOL in here, I can do that. And you can even do this on even amounts, like so. And again, choose your strategy type that you'd like. We're going to go with a pure spot. And I'm actually going to autofill this so that it looks even. Now we come down here and you can use these sliders if you want to change the range. You can type a price in here, but what most people do is they actually change the percentage amount. And you'll notice that the number of bins changes with that. Okay, go up or down. The default again is 6970 bins. All right, so we're just going to go with we're going to reset this and we're going to create a position. Before I do, please take note that there is a cost to create your positions because it's done completely on the blockchain itself. A standard position of 69 or 70 bins costs 0.05 SOL in rent. It is refundable whenever you close a position, okay? Because once your position is destroyed on the blockchain, you get that money back. You can click the details to get a breakdown of what you're being charged. I'll show you later on a different pair, something that you need to watch out for that you could get charged that's not refundable. Let's create our position. Okay, so now we can see here that I've got my position below, how much liquidity is in there, how much of each token. If you want to view that in SOL instead of USDC, just click this button here to change that. So we can see how much the values are in SOL. This is our position, and you'll notice that it's now showing on this right-hand panel our position. If you wanted to hide that, you could. I don't know why you would, but we've got that. We're showing our position right here, how much liquidity, how much I can claim in fees. You can claim fees at any time. We can create multiple positions. And so I'm going to do that now. I don't have any more USDC, so I'm going to do a one-sided position here of 0.25 SOL. And I'm going to go with the bid ask. And I'm going to go 1%. And that's going to cause it needs 100 bins to cover that much price range, because we're only on a 1 bin step pool, so it's very small. You notice that the cost moved up to 0.08 instead of 0.5. The more bins you have, the higher this goes. But again, watch out, make sure that it's all refundable. You'll get your money back. We'll create our position, one-sided SOL. And now there we go. We see we have 2 positions now. They're both earning fees. There. Now, you can add to an existing position, and you can even use different strategies. So let's say that I want to put in 0.1 SOL into here, and I want to stack a spot onto it. I'll just click this, add liquidity. And so now we can see here that we have a layer of spot and our bid ask. And this is fun. We have 2 little nubs there, spikes on this. That is because whenever you are going over the default of 70 bins, it's using something called Jito bundles. And if there's price movement during that transaction, it can cause funny things like that to happen. Regardless, we have our 2 positions. We have a stack strategy, one-sided. This is a pure spot. I'm going to swap a little bit of SOL here for some USDC. We'll go with 0.1 SOL. Okay. So I'm going to actually autofill this and put it into a curve. We can see here, I'm just going to go with, -1 on the minimum price and 1 on the maximum price. So we're going a little bit wider. And actually, I'm going to go 2 on the max price. We'll make a funny shape here. 300 bins in a curve. Let's create this position. I'm waiting for it to execute. The more bins that you have, the more bundles. And it looks like that expired, but it still created the position anyway. Okay. Multiple positions here. More to explain on this. You can claim all fees from all positions at once. Right here with this button, you can close all the positions at the same time, or you can interact with them individually if you choose. You will see a P&L right here in this column. Red obviously means you're down and green is up. If you hover over that, it will give you a lot more information about that specific position. How much you started with, how much you've claimed, how much you can claim, if you've withdrawn any, current balance, and that estimated P&L. Again, if you want to see this instead of US dollars, click on this to change, and now you can view it in SOL. So we have all these things here. Now, let's talk about withdraw. And we're going to interact with our spot position for this. So I click on that, and I come to the withdraw button. There are a lot of options here to withdraw. If I just want to close the position, I hit close. That will withdraw all liquidity, claim any unclaimed fees, close the position, and refund any of the rent that was charged to create the position. That's the simplest thing. If I just hit withdraw liquidity, all that does is pull out this liquidity. It doesn't claim any fees. It doesn't close the position. You can define how much you want to withdraw. You can type in here whole numbers if you want. If you want to pull out just a portion of your liquidity, you can. You'll notice that I can't close the position though. I can only withdraw if I am choosing less than 100%. If you want to choose just a portion of that liquidity, you can use these sliders to select that and then just withdraw that amount of liquidity, however much you would like. And we can do one-sided withdrawals. So let's say that I only wanted to pull out my USDC here. I can select that and it'll automatically set these sliders to that. It'll show you how much you're getting. Now, we said USDC only, and there's a tiny bit of SOL in this withdrawal, and that's just because the current bin contains both tokens. So it's going to pull both from that. And again, you can do percentages of all these things. Here's an example. I'm going to pull out just this little bit of USDC so that we can see what it looks like. Okay. So now we've changed our shape here. We've carved out just a little bit of our USDC. Okay. There's another option here called the zap out. What the zap out is you want to close the position and automatically sell all of the tokens for the other. This is really useful if you're doing meme coins or things where you don't care about the other token. You only want your SOL or you only want your USDC, right? I don't really care to hold fart coin too much. So I may want to use the zap out to convert everything automatically. It does use Jupiter to do this swap. And we have a choice here. It'll use either Jupiter or the pool itself, whichever is the best price. I leave it on auto for that. Let's say I want to convert everything into SOL. It's going to default to whatever the quote token is. So I'm going to close this position. It's going to tell me, okay, I'm going to get this much SOL back, and I'll zap out. Now, an important thing, guys, remember this. Zap out is limited to 250 bins. Okay. We see here, this one here is 280 bins. We go to withdrawal, and notice I cannot zap out. What I could do though is select fewer bins, and it'll let me do it. Okay, so that's a cool little trick. Once I hit 250, it becomes no longer available. So it's really depending on how much or the range that you're trying to withdraw. Okay. So let's go back here. And here's another feature that we have. It's called the rebalance. And rebalance is limited to positions of 70 bins or less. And what that means is if you it'll reset it. Let me create a new position, actually. A tiny one. Let's reset this to spots. Create a position. Actually, let me do this one-sided. That'll make more sense that way. Okay. So we have this position here. It's all USDC. Let's say that the price moves out of range. We have the rebalance feature, which will reset it to the center. It's going to do swaps of one token for the other. Whatever's required to give that even balance, that's what it's going to do. You can change the strategy if you want, but it's going to do this. Now, you may incur losses whenever you do this, so be sure that you want to do it. Be sure that you're willing to accept this. This is such a small position and a small difference in price change that there's really not any significant loss here to do this. But if I click rebalance, it's going to sell some of my USDC for SOL. And it failed. Well, that's neat. If any part of that fails, slippage, anything like that, the rebalance feature can fail. This time it actually went through. And we see our new position here. It's been moved to like this. Okay. Let's get into some of the settings. At the very top of the page, we can click here. We'll see the transaction global settings. The DLMM uses JITO only. The DAMV2 can use either the priority fee or JITO or a mix. Priority level, okay? Go with the lowest priority you can get away with. If you're having trouble with transactions landing, you can increase this. It's going to spend more of your money to do it. And then the fee mode, I always go with max cap. And down here, I'm defining how much SOL that I'm willing to spend per transaction. And that is up to. It's not going to spend this much SOL every time. That's just the maximum it will spend. If the Solana network is, if there's a lot of traffic, and that the cost will go up for transactions. So if it goes over your max cap, the transaction will fail. You can set an exact fee. If you set the exact fee, it's going to use this amount each and every single time. I recommend that you go with the lowest amount that you can get away with. This one right now is set to 0.009. If you can go less, great. Some people will go even higher to that max cap. Next is RPC and your Solana Explorer. We'll talk about SolScan and the other stuff later. But this is what's interacting between you and the blockchain itself. The RPC, if you're having trouble with transactions or anything loading, come in here and change your RPC to a different one. The numbers will change based off of what you go to. But yeah, change your RPC if you're ever having a problem. Here in the global settings for the DLMM, you can see liquidity slippage. So liquidity slippage is whenever you go to make the deposit and the time it takes for that transaction to land, the price can move, okay? Here you can say how much of that movement you're willing to accept and it still make the deposit, okay? If you set it really high, it could move quite a bit and still make it. If you go much lower, like 1%, it's not going to accept very much price movement. So it may fail due to that. The swap slippage is, how much slippage you're willing to accept for a swap. There's a big difference between swap slippage and liquidity slippage. That's what that is. If you're having trouble, you can increase it, but again, you're increasing what you're willing to accept. Okay, and that's the defaults there. We'll talk ape in and zap out later, or actually here in a bit. But here we have our 3 positions. We're going to leave that as it is for now. I'm going to go here and select something else. Here's one that I was looking at actually. Last Man. So 5 different pools. We see here, this one, this bin step, I don't know who created this 25 bin step, but there's nothing in it. This is not a wise choice because this is a fresh meme. We hover over this, the warnings, we will see this is a new listing. It's not verified. High single ownership. This could be a little risky. But we're going to go and just take a look here. I actually want to look at the 100 bid step 3% base fee. And again, you can see the different warnings that are on this. Now, just the chart here, that's a 2-hour chart. I'm going to select a 1-minute chart. Again, I can choose my price range based off of whatever I'd like. If I want to put in just sold, you'll adjust that to there. And that's manual creation. We have a new feature called the Ape In. And what that does is it'll make any swaps required and just create the position for you. In the settings, you can choose how much you want to put in. You have to define that. You can change it anytime you want, but this is how much it'll do. We have different settings for the DLMM and the DAM-V2. But basically here, I can go and I can say, give me a curve, give me a bid ask. I could say quote only or base only. I want to go one-sided sold for this in a bid ask. I can change this if I want in the custom only. You can't go more than 69, 70 bins on this. But if I wanted to change this to say negative 10% and positive 40, I could do that if I wanted. But quote only, it's just going to give me that default. So let's Ape In, and it's not going to do a swap. It showed me what I got. There we are. It created that position. Let's show a 2-sided for this. And I'm going to Ape In here. And there we go. Now, if you will experience a lot of slippage on that swap, it'll give you a warning. If it goes above your normal threshold, it'll ask if you want to proceed. But we've got that. We've aped in here. You see it bought some of this other token and put it in there like that. And that's going down. That's fun. Okay. So we showed you Zap Out already. That's the Ape In. Those settings. Just check. Okay. So that is the tour of the DLMM. One last thing here is you have notifications that you can get that'll tell you if you're out of range. It could be you can get notifications via Telegram in the app or for email. That's all configured right there with that bell icon. Here we see this one is actually moving in and out of sync. When you get a little warning up here that it's telling you that the price is 5% or greater different than the current market price, it'll tell you that. You will see that whenever there is either not enough liquidity for the price to move, or on very volatile meme coins, especially with a higher fee that can move, eventually that price will sink if there's liquidity there for it to move to. Just pay attention. You know, if you're entering a pool with no TVL in it it's probably out of sync. If you enter liquidity, you'll get arbed, or arbitration will happen, and you can lose a lot of money with that. So be careful, pay attention to what you're doing. And actually, that last thing that I wanted to show you guys with this warning, create a new position here. Doesn't matter how much I put in there. Let's say I want to go negative 99%. That's the maximum I can do here. We can see here now that we've changed, a non-refundable amount is now being shown here. This 0.14. Let's click on the details to see just what that is. We can see here position extension rent and position rent, all that's refundable. But here, what is this non-refundable fee? It is a bin array cost. Okay, so whenever a pool is created, the bins are not created with it. That is a bin array, and it's a set of bins that go with it. This is also rent on the Solana blockchain. Meteora does not take this money. This is rent on the blockchain itself. So these have to be created. Because like pools, bins cannot be destroyed once created. So there's that cost. You would not get that money back. Anybody can use these bins. There's no extra reward or anything for creating the bins. It's just, again, if you want to put liquidity there where no liquidity has ever existed before, you need to do that. So just pay attention to what you're doing before you do it. Here's a warning here. This position is out of range. This is a great one. We can see here, I'm out of range on this. The price has moved above this. And so now it's telling me I'm out of range. So therefore I am no longer earning fees on that position. So I'm going to close it out. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, look at that. There's a small bit of profit on it. I'm going to zap out of this one. Withdraw, zap out. I only want Sol. I don't want whatever this meme is. And there we go. Oh, it failed. There must have been some slippage here, so we're going to try that again. This one is volatile, so there we go. You can, let me just create another position here. Oh, I don't want to do that one. Just create a position here. Okay. Where's it at? Oh, sorry. I was looking for something, but it disappeared. Okay, ignore that. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you here is we can see here we've created our position and it's showing us on the chart our range, the minimum and maximum right there. Okay. Other questions, and we have 30 minutes left.
None so far, as far as I can see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, some of these important notes that I want you guys to remember. Your position is your deposit in the pool. You can have as many as you'd like. The default is 69.70. The minimum is 1. The maximum is 1,400 bins. There is rent that's refundable, and creating bin arrays is not refundable. So pay attention to all your warnings. Don't just click read. These are just a cheat sheet here for APIN. It's telling you, like here, DMV2 has only these settings. We've kind of covered all of this already, but we could see here the various options there for APIN, as well as withdraw. And rebalance. You can change the price impact there, how much you're willing to accept on the rebalance. Price impact option is right there. And again, you can have losses if you do rebalance, so make sure that you're okay with whatever the change is there. One thing that it does do is also when you rebalance, if you have any fees on the position, it will put those fees back. It'll claim them and put them back into that position for you. Okay. Next section. Impermanent divergent loss. So this is the thing that scares plenty of people, and it really shouldn't be all that scary. Impermanent loss is guaranteed to happen. And here's what it is. It is whenever the price diverges from your original point. So we made a deposit here on this position, Sol Uranus. This is where we started. Some trades went through the pool, and that caused the price to change, and it went down, negative. So now I am in a negative divergent or impermanent loss from my entry point. If I was to withdraw at this point right here, that loss would become permanent. So that's why it's called impermanent. It's not permanent until you withdraw. Now, the goal here, obviously, is we want to earn enough fees to offset that. We'll show you that, but it's important to understand impermanent loss is not just when you go out of range. It's as soon as the swap hits. So don't be afraid of impermanent loss. It's a natural thing to liquidity providing. It's going to happen as soon as your liquidity is touched. One of our OGs, Geek Lad out there, he created a impermanent divergent loss simulator that we can use. We'll actually switch this. It's totally free. There's no wallet connection at all. It's using Meteora pool data. And here we go. We'll zoom in here. We can search for a pool, and this is again going to search Meteora's pools themselves. And again, you can search by a contract address, which is usually recommended, but in here you can set the bin step. Or I can search by the bin step here. Let's actually look at USDC, Sol USDC, or Asteroid, whatever. So 100 bin step, we need to put in a token amount. We're going to autofill that. And we see right here, this is what that position may look like. You can choose different ones, but let's just grab this right here and move to simulate price movement. Let's say price is going down. We can see down here, this is how much it's changed in value and how much profit and loss that we're in right here. Okay. let me put in 1 sol instead. So if we went with 1 sol and an equal amount of asteroid, we would see this profit and loss is negative 0.12. You need to generate at least that much in fees to overcome and offset those losses. What happens if we change this to a bid ask? We could see that the P&L is less, okay? Because in bid ask is better at capital preservation. So we have less loss to overcome here. If we change it to curve, the loss is even higher because, again, more of our liquidity was done at a higher price, okay? If we move it above, we could see this is positive divergent loss, and it's actually a gain in this situation. But this just kind of like, you can play around with this to see what it looks like, what the difference would be, maybe how much you would have to gain or earn depending on how much you've put into this. You can go one-sided, of course. We're seeing a 0 there. If you wanted to change this, you could. We could see what our losses might be. Of course, it does not account for any fees. This is not actually using any swaps to do this. This is just to kind of help you visualize and understand impermanent loss. That is at dlmmsim.xyz. So you can access that at any time you want. Again, it's totally free. All right, we have 2 different methods of profit. You need to, 1, earn enough fees to overcome your impermanent loss. And the other is a positive divergent loss. In other words, the token pumps up out of range, leaving you with only the token you want, such as, for example, SOL. So your withdrawal is higher value than your initial deposit. In an ideal world, you've done both. You've earned a whole bunch of fees and it's pumped up out of range. But it's not necessarily for you to have that above your entry point for you to have profit. If you've earned enough fees to offset that, then you can still win. That is the power of liquidity providing. And this is really kind of the last thing that I wanted to show you guys today. Alex, I don't know if you're still here, but he created something called the DLMM Playground. This is a true DLMM simulator. You are not risking any real money in here. You get 100 fake SOL to use, but it's going to use that Meteora pool data, all right? But you're not risking any funds. You can test things out and experiment, and really this is the place that I recommend that you start before you deposit any real money. And let's actually go look at that right now. It's available on lparmory.com. So we'll come here, we'll go to the playground. And here, Alexis, you can take a tour, which is really cool. And I'm actually going to skip that tour for now. Go through that tour on your own. Alex explains how to do all these things. He has a support button that you can give feedback, report bugs, or make a suggestion. I'll put in a hi from LP Academy Live. He'll get that message, and that's a lot of fun for him. So anyway, default is going to be a 10 bid step SOL USDC pool, but you could choose anything you'd like. Let's go with this. I'm going to get a contract address here for a totally different one. Search for this. Let's play around in this pool right here. So I'm going to click on it. You see our chart, a 15-minute chart. Let's go to the 1-minute chart. You've got some options there. You can even play around with this here. A lot like the DLM, it's got a lot of that same basic information. Some of it a little bit more simplified here. But I've got up here, we can see I've got some fake SOL and some USDC in there. Let's make a deposit by creating a new position. Let's say that I want to put in, because I can, 50 SOL. And I'm going to do, let's go with 50 SOL on a spot. Let's go wide here, minimum price. Let's set the max price to 0. And click add liquidity. Now I have a position right here. If I click on it, let's say that I want to stack a strategy with 20 SOL in a bid ask. I can do that. So I put in a lot. Now here we can see the estimated fees that I would be earning. And our estimated P&L here. You can claim the fees if you'd like. Again, it's not real money. But the DLM playground is very powerful. You can even look at closed positions. Let's close this one. Let's withdraw and close it. And we even see here it generated a profit and loss card. I lost $6 on this. That's super sad. And we see our closed positions there. I can make a new one. I can do whatever I want with this because, again, it's not real money. If I choose to do this, it's going to set that up for me automatically. Again, I can play around however I'd like with this. Super cool. You can see I won, so it's a much happier face there. So that is the DLM playground. You have a lot to choose from. You can switch between. One thing that's important for you guys to know is that if you refresh this page or close it, anything that you had in there will go away and it will reset the SOL here. So, like, for example, I'm going to reset the page. Everything went away and it reset how much is in my wallet. So 100% SOL. Okay. We're near to the end for today. All right. So whenever this session is over in the LP Army Discord, if you join the LP Academy stage, instructors, Photon Magic, Hashirama, I think he's actually traveling today, so he may not make it. Photon Magic will be there. I may pop my head in there. But if you've got any questions about anything that we've covered or previous courses or anything else that you want to ask LP Academy, hop in and ask that question and we'll help you out. I don't really, man, there's been like 0 questions today. 1, 2, 3, Oh, yeah.
I got one question, and
Okay.
I answered it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. All right. So the Q&A will start actually at 7 p.m. UTC, which is in about 14 minutes. But I don't know if you're going to start it early, but it's scheduled for 7. But yeah, pop in, ask questions, hang out. I think that's
I'll
it.
give it a start in 14 minutes. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Tomorrow we'll go through a more practical. Today was all about the fundamentals, and tomorrow we'll get deeper into actual using this, risks, and so on and so forth. So that is it for today. We will end the session with the brand new LP Academy song. We played it in the very beginning, but if you weren't here in the very beginning, you missed it. New LP Academy song just to jam out. It's making its debut today. De nada, amigo. All right, you guys. Thank you, and y'all have a good one.